Ricky Cox, three-time winner of Cowtown Marathon and most other races in the Fort Worth and Dallas area. And he's going to tell us about how he trained for his Cowtown marathons and what he may have learned over those 3 times.
First of all, I have to say how I got into running. I got into running football and at Ojai High School. I started getting involved in sports my junior year. So I only had 2 years of running track in high school. And after high school, I went to Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. Still didn't know what distance was at Marshall, Texas and Wiley College. And after leaving Wiley College after 1 year, I became my own self-coach runner. So I'm really a self-coach runner. And I learned through running different magazines, different books, Running World, on what I needed to do. I looked at what the top runners were doing, and then I would compare. I would say, well, I need to do half of this. And I eventually made a schedule up on half of what the elite runners were doing. When I first started running after Wiley College, I only averaged about 10 miles a week. And I knew by doing 10 miles a week, I would slowly increase my mileage. The key thing was not to do too much too early, and that caused injuries and burnout. I was afraid of that. So I started off with 10 miles a week, went out and ran my first race after about a month. I did the Trinity Trot here in Fort Worth, long time race. I did it in like 25, 24 minutes and said, hey, what if I did 20 miles a week? So I increased my mileage to 20 miles a week. What if I did 30? And hey, I went out and ran a race and my time improved. And I said, what if I did 50? Did 50 miles a week. I just kept increasing my mileage, and I slowly learned if I ever wanted to do a marathon, I would have to get up to high mileage to build strength, endurance, and stamina in order to, first of all, run the pace that you set to do the marathon at. I knew if I wanted to average 5-minute miles, I had to have the strength to do that. I had speed, but knowing you have to have strength. And so I eventually got up to 60 miles a week and thought I was ready for a marathon. And my first marathon, I blew up. I hit the wall. And every marathon was a learning experience. My first marathon was White Rock. After doing those 60 miles a week, and my long run was only 16 miles. So at the 16-mile mark at White Rock, guess what? I hit the wall. And I had a hard time finishing the last 10 and a half miles. But that was a learning experience. After White Rock, I knew 60 miles is not enough, so I have to go up to 80. So I increased my mileage to 80 miles a week for Cowtown, the next marathon coming up. Went up to 80 miles a week, did Cowtown the next week, and knocked almost 10 minutes off my time within that 2-month period, 3-month period.
What was your longest run then for that?
I upped a 20-miler. I did 2 20-mile runs in between White Rock and Cowtown that year. Of course, I had to recover from White Rock and then build my way back up. Then I knew I could at least get into 20 miles without breaking my body down for Cowtown. So I got up to 20. And my key thing at Cowtown the next year was to complete it without walking, without stopping. And I did that, and I went from like a 247 down to a 240 flat. Knocked 7 minutes off in those 2 months. And that was my first Cowtown. And my second Cowtown, of course, again, I consider myself a strength runner. I'm a strength runner because I knew I had to build mileage. And I had the speed, that's there. But from that point, from the first Cowtown to the second Cowtown, I got up to 90 miles a week. I increased my mileage another 10 miles a week throughout that whole year. And went from a 240 to a 230 flat, my next marathon. And it all comes from increasing the mileage. Now, when you move up in your mileage, you can't stop your speed work. You can't stop your track work. You still got to implement all that speed work, hill work, fartlek work, and you got to keep it well balanced. You know, you still have to do your 400s. You still have to do your 100s. I would do 20 to 30, 110-yard sprints on a football field with like a 10-second rest in between. You need workouts like that to get the leg torn. And plus, you get your cardiovascular system as well. I went up to 80 miles a week and did a 2:30 my next marathon. And I said, hey, that worked. So the next year I said, what if I do some 100-mile weeks? So I increased my mileage to 100 miles. Keep in mind, you can only do about 5 or 6 weeks, 5 weeks of 100-mile weeks. Now, I'm a self-coach runner. I always listen to my body. I always listen to my body, what it's doing, and how it feels. And I knew I could only do about 5 weeks of 100-mile weeks, and I had to bang off. But you got to do it at the right time when you're training for a marathon. So you can peak and have all that good 100-mile week strength work under your belt when you go into your marathon. So went up to about 95 to 100 miles a week, and eventually I dropped from a 2:30 to a 2:20 in 1 year. 1 year I dropped 10 minutes, and it worked. So same thing my third Cowtown win. I said, now I just got to maintain this 95, 100-mile weeks for another year. Just maintain it. Now keep in mind, in the summertime here in Fort Worth, here in Texas, I always drop to 50, 60 miles a week. It's too hot to run a lot of miles in the summer. So each summer, I would drop to 50, 60 miles a week. And come September, October, it's marathon time to start moving up the mileage. And so my third marathon, and of course Boston, after a year, I dropped from like a 221 down to 217. And that's about 5:13, 5:15 mile pace for the marathon. But in order to do that, I had to go up to some 100-mile weeks, and I had to do more 400s. Instead of doing 10 400s repeats on the track, I would go up to 16. And of course, during that period, when I was running the 220s, I implemented 10-mile study runs at marathon pace. I would go out and run a 10-mile study run in about 53, 52 minutes at marathon pace. And hill work, of course. You know, you have to do the hill work. Find a hill that's not so steep, and it take you probably a minute and a half to get up this hill. So you run up and jog down. A lot of different workouts you implement to keep working your body down, and especially the race that you're going to run, do some workouts geared to that race. Like before I did Boston, I did 217 in Boston. Boston, I knew I had to do a lot of up and downhill training. Keep in mind what I just said, up and downhill, because the last 6 miles of Boston, half of it is downhill, and it tends to beat your front of your legs and your hamstrings up. So I did a lot of up and down hill training, and man, it worked. At 3 miles, I flew. Legs weren't hurting, it was downhill, so I ran Boston 217, one of my best times. But the key thing you got to always remember if you're running a marathon, whatever's high mileage for you, that's what you have to do. And you have to push it a little. You have to push it on up. If you think 50 miles is enough, about 3 or 4 weeks within that 16-week period, push it up to 60. You have to push yourself. Hey, that's what you're doing during the marathon. It's 2 races in one. You can do the first 20, but the last 6 is what's going to determine your time.
All right, great. So, what made you decide to start the 25,000 series?
The Jogger series, the Bogman 5K.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That gave me the idea of doing, hey, the city of Fort Worth needs something like that.
So what year is this for
this was in 1988.
1988?
1988. I think they had already had the Jogger 5K series going about 2 years. And I just thought, hey, I'm a runner. I love running. I've won Cowtown a few times. Maybe that can get people to come out running 100-degree temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So actually I said, well, Dallas doing it, Fort Worth need an event like that. So a lot of other people talked about it, a lot of other runners and some race directors, but nobody implemented it.
Yeah.
We talked about it for a couple of years, but we didn't do it. So I got with my family, my wife, and some of my other family members. I said, hey, I want to do a summer series. So I'm just going to put it in the newspaper and advertise a little and get a few tables and chairs and go set up and see how many runners showed up. So the first year, 5 runners showed up.
Is that right?
5 runners showed up the first year for the 25,000 summer series.
Grown a little bit since. Grown a little bit since then.
Every year since.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, you know, it would get this big.
Yeah.
Because the first year we averaged about 5 to 8 runners. But I told my wife, we're going to continue to do it. You know, let's continue to get up, set the table, go out, and let's continue to do it. And so the second year, third year, we averaged about 15 to 20 runners. The fifth year, we averaged about 25 runners. And every year, we kept getting more and more runners and walkers coming out. And now, like this year, we're up to 200 runners. We had 200 runners last week and the week before. And also I knew it would give, a lot of runners complain about running in the heat in Texas in the summertime.
Yeah.
It's always hard to do speed work by themselves, or hard to get out and do tempo runs. And that was another reason why I wanted to implement something like that for the runners that wanted to do Cowtown, wanted to do New York or Boston, when you need to maintain some kind of speed work during the summer.
Yeah.
So the Trinity 5000 gives you an opportunity to do that. Come out, run with a gang, run with a group, you get water, and have fun.